Hi, I'm Sapphire. I play the guitar, I dance, and I model. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you 7 learning points and 5 bonus points that I've learned from a Guitar.com masterclass by Tim Henson and Scott Lepage from Polyphia. It was held last Friday in Singapore, October 25th. This masterclass is organized by Guitar.com in partnership with Ibanez and Suili Music. So according to Wikipedia, Polyphia is a primarily instrumental progressive rock band. And to hear them live was absolutely mind-blowing. If you already follow them, you know that their recording and the music they release sound amazing. But to listen to them live, it was on a whole different level. It was literally, I think, 100 times or 500 times better, and I was so lucky to get to watch them live. It was so inspiring. An amazing thing about this clinic is that after every song was performed, Tim and Scott would talk about the song, how they composed it, any special musical features that they used in it, or any funny stories attached to the song. So for the following tunes that I would mention, do check them out on Spotify. The first learning point is to be creative with song arrangement, aka don't be restricted by traditional song form. So have you heard of a song having a pre-chorus, a chorus, and a post-chorus? Exactly, me neither. If you had, it's good for you, but I heard it for the first time at this clinic. So according to Tim, their song, Champagne, is all about the chorus. It is hook after hook after hook, leading it to be catchy all the time. So their song Champagne also shows that a brilliant rock guitar tune can be written over a vocal tune, or any tune for that matter, any tune that you love or enjoy. It can be pop, hip-hop, or anything. So after performing Champagne once at the clinic, Tim and Scott mentioned that Champagne is indeed written over a vocal tune. So they proceeded to play that vocal tune as a backing track and then to perform that song again on top of that vocal tune so that we in the audience can, let's say, hear for ourselves how it can seem to be inspired by that tune. The thing is, I'm not too sure how sound acoustics work, but I'm pretty sure I'm seated at one of the best seats in the venue. It is an open air venue, and I was there around 3.5 hours early. So I was seated right smack in the middle at the spot with the best view. It might not have the best sound acoustics, but because of the sound system, actually when both guitarists started playing Champagne again over that vocal tune, I could barely hear that tune underneath the two guitars at all. I don't know, maybe someone else seated somewhere else could actually hear that tune underneath the two guitars, but from where I was seated, I just couldn't hear them. So the lesson is that to be inspired by anything you love and enjoy, and anything goes. Also, if you fancy, and Polyphia has done this as well, you can add Metronome Tick to a final cut of a song if you like. And for the final song that they performed that evening at the clinic, they actually showed how they added a metronome tick to the final cut of the song. So to reiterate, there are no rules and anything goes in music. The second learning point is to be open to any inspiration and influences outside of your genre, and at any time and at any situation. Tim shared a personal story. He was in the middle of a hair appointment when inspiration struck, and he left the appointment halfway to go home and record whatever he had. And you might have heard this a million times, but inspiration can happen anywhere. And if you can record it down, for example in a notebook or in your phone, or to sing it or hum it into your phone, don't be resistant to the idea of leaving your appointment halfway to go home to honor your creativity. You never know, something big and good can come out of it. With regards to being open to inspiration, for example, their song, The Worst, for example, is Jimi Hendrix inspired and very pentatonic. Tim also mentioned that, Kanye is one of his musical influences when it comes to composing. Their song Goose is said to be EDM inspired at first, and then the band tried to implement hip-hop into the tune. And with regards to a lot of their tunes, they say that they try to implement their style into hip-hop or to implement hip-hop into their style. The third learning point is to be open to expanding your skill set as a musician. Scott shared a personal anecdote that I think is very appropriate for this. So Early on in Scott's guitar playing journey or career, he said that he runs scales up and down all the time until he can play them super fast. And then he started to wonder, so where do I go from here? And that was when he started to look into composing and writing music. Therefore, if you mostly play, maybe think of working on your writing or composing skills. Or if you don't already do, or if you feel stuck in a rut, maybe pick up production skills. Or you could try mixing and mastering. Basically, it is to work on any other skill that you don't usually work on, so that you can grow and expand your skill set as a musician. Maybe to make yourself more marketable, or actually simply to be a better human being. The fourth learning point is chord melody is relevant beyond jazz and could be relevant in the realm of rock or metal. And it can be useful as a composition technique. Polyphia themselves use chord melody to compose some of their songs. So what is chord melody? Chord melody simply means playing chords and melody at the same time. And according to Tim, it is root notes and chords outlining what you're playing, and then playing a top melody with that. Chord melody is most commonly associated with jazz guitar, and you can see what I mean if you try this too. I googled chord melody, and out of the 7 articles that came up, so excluding an ad at the top, there were 7 articles on the first page of Google's search engine, and 6 out of 7 of them reference jazz guitar lessons, or jazz standards. And these were referenced in their website names, article titles. I personally was introduced to chord melody in a jazz setting. I used to listen to Joe Pass, and he's a crazy guitar player. Not literally crazy, but you get what I mean. He has solo guitar albums where he plays swing jazz and chord melody, and it's really difficult. But that was when I was introduced to chord melody. Therefore, I was really surprised when Tim and Scott actually said that they use chord melody to compose. But watching them live actually made it really obvious, because Tim plays the lead, so you would see him playing a chord and then following it with licks. So it was really obvious to watch it like that. And examples of their songs that use chord melody as a composition technique is Saucy and Goose, and both were performed live at a clinic. The fifth learning point is that you can create musical masterpieces even with the simplest chord progressions. And Polyphia's song, Euphoria, for example, is just 3 chords repeated throughout the whole song. A lot of Polyphia's tunes sound way more complicated than they really are. And in their own words, Tim and Scott, they flex on simple chord progressions. But they emphasize to add notes extra tastefully to certain or select spots only. And their song For the Oz, for example, they have added loads of notes, and if you listen to it, it has loads of arpeggios in there, and I'm going to talk later more about arpeggios too. The 6th learning point is that making mistakes is absolutely normal, and that professionals, they make mistakes too. I noticed a few mistakes that was made, combined during the live show and during the sound check, which was 3 hours and a half before the show was scheduled to start. Even though the mistakes were rare, I was very glad that I heard mistakes, because that shows that they are human after all. And it might seem counterintuitive, but the fact that mistakes are made, somehow they signal to me that Polyphia, Tim and Scott's level of playing is attainable. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying it's attainable, because the mistakes seem to signify that it is a constant work in progress when it comes to your guitar playing ability, that it's not about achieving perfection, but it's about constantly improving, that playing guitar is a journey, not a destination. On the other hand, considering how demanding their songs are and the number of songs that were performed, it's actually really impressive that I've only noticed a few mistakes. But of course, though the mistakes I've noticed might not be the actual number of mistakes that were made, right? We all musicians know that. The 7th learning point is to not be afraid to go down the crowdfunding route. So Polyphia, they successfully used Indiegogo to fund their first full-length studio album, and they achieved 207% of their goal. Simply Google Polyphia Indiegogo and you can find the campaign page for yourself as well. So I personally found that it's really inspiring to read their campaign page and to soak in the ingenuity of how they did it. So those are the 7 main learning points. Let's move on to the bonus points. The first bonus point. So for those of you who play guitar, who are into rock music, or maybe thinking of covering Polyphia's music, so Tim and Scott recommend their song Euphoria as the easiest song of theirs to cover to get into covering the band's music. Euphoria is said to be fun and melody based. So I'm currently learning Euphoria. I'm actually around 30 seconds away from finishing learning the entire tune. So I'm probably gonna be back with a video discussing it. On another note, Tim and Scott actually recommended the audience to cover all of their songs. So the second bonus point, what makes a melody good? So according to Scott, catchiness is what makes a melody good. So in Scott's opinion, especially good melodies are those that you absolutely hate, but you just can't get it out of your head because it is so catchy. The third bonus point will cover Tim and Scott's opinion of tabs. And Polyphia themselves, they do offer tabs for sale. When it comes to tabs, Tim and Scott encourage the ability to learn tunes by ear. Because after all, it is the most fundamental skill of a musician. Scott himself started to hone his ability to learn tunes by ear when early on in his guitar playing career or journey, he tried to learn tunes from tabs and he realized that the tabs were absolutely inaccurate. That's when he was forced to hone his ear. They are of the opinion that tabs offer a quick reward to playing. It is good for convenience or for when there's a time crunch. And Tim and Scott, they themselves look at tabs for their own tunes. But of course, it's justified in that context because they compose their tunes after all. The fourth bonus point is an almost common sense but fundamental tip to practicing sweep picking. And for those of you who play guitar, do you dread sweep picking or do you love it? I personally, and I believe possibly many guitarists out there, we sometimes struggle from this problem of missing out what might be the most common sense or obvious ways to improve our guitar practice. And I think it's mostly because of, let's say, habits that were formed since we picked up the guitar, what we're used to practicing, what we have been used to, how we have practiced, and actually even our comfort zones when it comes to practicing the guitar. And I personally never got too far with practicing sweep picking. And if you know the song 40 Hours by Polyphia, you would hear a lot of cool arpeggio lines in there. And they actually performed this song live and it was mind-blowing for me because I can literally hear how clean the arpeggios are all played. My gosh, it's just amazing. And if you play guitar or practice sweep picking ever, you would know how difficult it is to play it clean. And so, Tim and Scott have a very common sense tip to practicing sweep picking. It is to practice it to a chord progression you enjoy. I've actually never really known this for myself. So there are no shortcuts when it comes to getting better at sweep picking. You just have to do it, and that's what they say, because a member of the audience asked, how do you get better at sweep picking? And Tim and Scott's response was, you just gotta do it. There's no shortcuts, no other way. Possibly if you practice it to a chord progression you enjoy, it might make it a less painful and less laborious process to get better at it. The fifth bonus point is a funny observation I made during the clinic. So it seems that your backing tracks seem to go on forever. Okay, that's an exaggeration, but after they perform every tune, they would stop playing and then the backing tracks would still be going on and then Scott would have to turn it off. But the funny thing is they will perform tunes that they have already released officially. So it was kind of funny that they don't have backing tracks that actually match exactly to the tunes that they were performing. So their tracks seem to go on, I don't know how long, maybe 10 minutes, maybe more. But I realized it could be a really good technique, could be a really good way for them to, I don't know, compose or practice over it. Those are my 7 learning points and 5 bonus points. And if you enjoyed this video, you would enjoy a similar video as well where I talk about what I learned from a guitar clinic with Marty Friedman. A blog post written version of this video will be up on my blog, and in these videos I will share about guitar, dance, and modeling. So thank you for watching, be happy, and peace out!